There's an ideas deficit in these organizations. Now that you can build anything you want super quickly, if you can't turn that into revenue, people have to get laid off. Right. There's no way around it, or at least stay the same. But the problem is, in business, staying the same is dying.
Yes.
Staying the same, that revenue becomes worth, if you want to just take a straight inflation line, it becomes worth less and less every year. But typically being flat is the same as being in decline in business.
Yo, what's up, dude? Welcome to another stand-up.
Stand up it is, man. How's it hanging?
You know, we're doing okay. We're doing okay. I don't know if I should give like a play-by-play update, but we talked yesterday about, a tough day that my family is going through. Today is no different, the same. So I'm sure I'll do a little bit of a different type of episode when I'm compelled to, but not for today. For today, I think we're going to talk about something that has come across our desk multiple times. It was a big topic of conversation last Thursday at Long Island Technologists. There's a lot of shakeup happening in the industry. I think you even said you had an article that you wanted to share. This is really about the pursuit of income instead of the pursuit of what you want your job to be. When there are certain things and forces in your world, in your family, in your life that rely on income, we have to create a little bit of a separation between how you bring money into your world, into your family, versus is that the job I've always dreamed of? What two better people to talk about this than the guys that have done some really nasty, dirty jobs in their life to just try and stay afloat and make ends meet and try to find our way. And it all comes back to what I always talk about. I'll write a book about it one day, which is increase your surface area for luck. And just because you have income and you got a job, that opens the floodgates of people that could potentially impact your journey. And speaking your goals into existence is real. And what you focus on usually is what materializes. So lots of stuff to unpack here. You want to kick it off because I think you have a really meaningful article, and I think we'll kind of get into what does it mean to pursue income versus pursue a career, and hopefully they're one and the same, but that doesn't always mean that they're mutually exclusive.
Yeah, I mean, so what I was going to share today is Epic Games announced layoffs. You had another layoff announcement in tech, and they announced that they're laying off over 1,000 Epic employees, and they're sorry that they're here again. So they sent a note out, and the reason I'm bringing it up is because I think that they were the most honest of any of the layoffs that we've seen. So we've seen all these layoffs happen across the whole industry, very large companies, and all of them tried to make it like some kind of AI efficiency is driving their need for layoff. But Epic Games actually said, since it's a thing now, this is a direct quote from the letter, since it's a thing now, I should note that the layoffs aren't related to AI. To the extent it improves productivity, we want to have as many awesome developers developing great content and tech as we can. That one line I'd like to point out too seems to be, if you look at the big AI companies that are claiming that there won't be developers in a year, like Anthropic, they are hiring more developers than ever, more minds to work on more problems, to create and build cooler stuff. The issue that Epic is talking about is just the slower growth, right? The main issue is Fortnite is not as popular as it used to be. And consoles are, for whatever reason, not as popular or selling the way that they used to. And they have a dip in straight revenue, and money is not freely available. So for those that kind of don't know, when interest rates are up, a lot of companies rely on lines of credit and borrowed money and all that good stuff. And the cost of taking that capital is up right now. And it hasn't come down. If you've gone to get a home mortgage, you know that. And now with the war in Iran, we are even further, right? The Fed has delayed all rate cuts across the board. For us as a small business, we have a small business loan. Those SMB loans are on flex rates. When the interest rate goes down, more cash stays in my business. When the interest rate goes up, more cash leaves my business. That's less. It means I need to be more profitable. And it's very hard to start changing pricing and raising rates. Typically, like the Fed can decide to lower a rate on a dime or raise a rate on a dime. I can't call all my customers the next day and tell them I got to raise rates. So these economic forces are really, I think, what drives it. And I felt like Epic Games kind of at the very least owned up to the idea that there's not as many people playing Fortnite. We have not come up with enough good ideas to get more people playing Fortnite, which is the side effect of that. The existing staff has not come up with enough good ideas. This goes back to what we've talked about from Dax's post a while ago, which was there's an ideas deficit in these organizations. Now that you can build anything you want super quickly, if you can't turn that into revenue, people have to get laid off. Right. There's no way around it, or at least stay the same. But the problem is in business, staying the same is dying.
Yes.
Staying the same, that revenue becomes worth, if you want to just take a straight inflation line, it becomes worth less and less every year. But typically being flat is the same as being in decline in business. We have an issue. We've talked about this on other episodes. We desperately need creativity. We desperately need new ideas. We desperately need ways to sell things to people. And this is the deficit I think organizations are coping with. And nobody wants to really own up to that.
Well, it's a preservation. Like if you're in business, if you're a business owner, you have to make some really hard decisions, but the business can't go to zero. If it goes to zero, it's game over for everybody. At least a business like Epic Games now, lives to fight another day. There are two ways to make money in businesses. You can either generate more income or you can cut expenses. And so that's the harsh reality. Believe me, the founders and the operators of that business, whoever is running that show, lost a lot of sleep over that decision. They've likely delayed this as long as they possibly could to try and keep as many people as employed, the hope that tomorrow brings the next big idea that just rights the ship. I've been there at a much smaller scale. You and I have been there, not just once, but multiple times. And it's a preservation. So either the business survives, like, fuck me, forget you. How many months you've gone without a paycheck? How many months you've gone with
We're the first ones
fumes?
To skip the paycheck.
I'm the first one that doesn't get to eat. That's the hard reality, but the business still exists and will continue to exist. That doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to continue to get paid. Now, thankfully, we're okay. On a much smaller scale, we're okay, but I love this topic because it hits incredibly hard at home. I empathize and sympathize very much so with folks that are in the job market now looking for a new way to create income to their families. Like, I've been there. You have definitely been there. We have staff that have been there. There are lots of jobs that are still out there. And that kind of brings me full circle to where I started this conversation, which was, I think we have to separate the need for income from the need to pursue your career. And if you're like me and you're like you and you're like lots of people that we know, the pursuit of income isn't always the sexiest thing. It isn't always the thing that you're proud to put on your LinkedIn. It isn't always the thing that we're going to celebrate at a dinner because you got this wonderful job. Sometimes it looks like working a retail job. Sometimes it looks like driving Uber. Sometimes it looks like picking up a shovel. Sometimes it looks like, I don't know, going to work for a family member or taking a significant pay cut just to keep something coming in, reduce your need for debt or credit or whatever you need to do to just stay afloat, because the tide does shift. If you're a professional, you will find your way back to another job. If it all goes to shit for you and me tomorrow, it might take a little bit of time, but I'm willing to do anything for income. Anything. There's nothing that's above me, short of hitting people. As a hitman.
Well, yes, illegal, right. It's sort of illegal things, but you're right. Like you could tap on old skills that you had, right? Like I would be very happy to do like bartending or wait. Sure. We met someone actually who was in a banquet waiters union, and they were a project manager. They actually just loved doing that, so they kept doing it. And of course, like, should that tech side kind of drop out, they have this other thing to fall back on. That was really interesting. I mean, I told you the other day, I was like, we were talking about epoxying garage floors. Someone was mentioning they had a business doing that. And I said, you and I did that with my wife right in my garage up there, and it took like a day. The part that took the longest was clearing the garage out. So immediately, like, my wheels always spin to things like that since I was a kid. So I encourage, and anyone I've encouraged to just think of income separately, like you're talking about, like, okay, what else could you do? The one thing I want to kind of emphasize, and I have a very specific person in mind who did just take a retail job, even though because they couldn't get their gig in software.
Super proud.
Super proud. is you got to get the financial stress off your brain. If that really it shows up in interviews, it clouds all of your judgment. Even in business, if you're a business owner, every bad decision I've ever made was because cash flow was tight. If I ever make a bad decision, it's because there's a cash flow problem. If I ever act out or get upset about something or emotional, I always feel like that it almost goes back to that money is the root of all evil kind of thing. It really is the root of every bad decision I've ever made. And sometimes even at the root of good decisions in some ways, but most bad decisions are made because you're financially strapped. And so I would encourage people, just like they did, to look at other places, look at other skills for a period of time. Keep your skills sharp, but there's no shame in saying, hey, I got to get this financial weight off. I got to just be able to make the rent, got to be able to pay the bills, because it's just a super tough time right now to be in tech. One thing that comes up though from talking to much older folks is there have been at least 3 tech recessions since the year 2000 that they have lived through, and we will get through this, and it will get better. We just haven't seen it. But I think that the doom and gloom around AI is taking the jobs leaves you with this feeling like it's gotten bad and it will never get better. I think the economics are definitely at play here. There's another war going on. There's interest rates that are not coming down. People can't buy homes. There's a lot going on. There's less venture capital to go around for folks. We see a lot of startups are not raising money the way they used to. Affects the hiring pool. That affects the salary pool too. I hate to tell you, but when businesses need to be profitable, salaries come down because they're not competing for a limited resource of talent with money they don't have. So these are all the kind of things that start to come into play, and we kind of have to bob and weave around this scenario.
Let's just play it out. You know, I talk all the time. Increase your surface area for luck. What does that mean? So let's just say you got a job at Macy's. Let's just say like you needed to create some income. You're willing to just take a part-time job. It could be a full-time salary job, but you're working at department store Macy's in retail, folding clothes. I literally began my full income journey in retail. This is how I started. And so what does it look like? It looks like you now have a brand new network of coworkers who are interested in your story. You get to have a really long-running conversation with those people about your interests and your pursuits and your hobbies and your career and all the things that you have as goals. And those people are now part of your network and looking out for your best interest. You have managers who are looking for exceptional people to try and promote to new roles. It might look like you now are a shift manager. It might look like there's an opportunity for you to elevate into corporate. There might be an opportunity for you to take those skills that you just got laid off for and move right up the corporate ladder because you've expressed yourself and because you owned the job and you were extremely good at just working that retail position. It's not at the sacrifice of giving it your all. This can't be at the sacrifice of like, oh, I just need a job and I need income. I'll just do whatever the fuck. No, it's the pursuit of mastery of whatever you get yourself involved in. That's what people are looking for to give you the keys to the next opportunity. We don't just give opportunity to people just because. I want to make sure that I am empowering or providing opportunity to truly capable people that have earned the opportunity. And so you take every role, every income opportunity as the next person you meet could change your life. So when you show up day one to work on that retail job at Macy's, you better be the best damn associate that's ever been hired. Watch that play out. Watch your dreams come true from that. And you and me are both in that scenario, dude. Like, how many dots can you connect back to your waiting jobs? How many dots can you connect back to shoveling shit at the Mohawk Preserve? Like, I could do it too, dude. How many people do I know today that had compounding jobs, introductions, new network opportunities, go to this event, you got to meet this guy, all from working in retail? All from freaking flipping some weed while I was in college. I still have all those relationships. Like, dude, whatever you got to do to generate income in your life, don't look at it as I'm taking. Look at it as what can I give to the system to demonstrate my value, because this is just a simple means to an end. And I'm buying access into a new network with my time. And I'm getting compensated as well. That's like a wonderful thing. And so this is a tough situation. I don't want to say that, like, you know, this doesn't mean that you're not going to have some hard days, hard weeks wallowing, But it also means if you require income and you have a small family, don't look at it as a bad thing. Look at it as a new network.
Well, and if you don't have the family, even better, right? You
Even
can
better.
you
You're
can
easier.
reduce your costs to a significant way, like that you don't feel like you're letting other people down. The other, I'll play devil's advocate for you for a minute though, because
Good.
this has definitely happened to me too. Just this idea that like you may not, if you're going into Macy's or wherever and you're looking to get that next corporate gig, there is a world where people never look at you as more because
Of
you're doing the
course.
lower
Been
end job.
passed over for shit all
Listen,
the time.
I've had that happen where you're like just
Absolutely.
stuck and you're doing this support role or whatever it is, and they're never looking at you, and they're hiring other people, but they're never giving you the shot. One thing is, business owners, I would encourage you, I feel this way very strongly. Hiring from within seems to have been just like a dead, it just like died with our generation to the detriment of the workforce. I want to put the rallying cry out there now that we should strive to develop and hire up from within our own ranks. That was something I always thought was so cool about Enterprise Rent-A-Car, is that everybody starts on the counter. Everybody. And so even the CEO, who, obviously was in the family, though, that was one of the stories, is he started on the counter as a management trainee, MT, serving customers. And I really think that that is something that's a bit lost. And now it's hard with specialty skills like engineering, but I love like 37 Signals has a wrinkle on this where people all work the support desk. Every engineer has to go and work the support desk and do it and do the job. And like even the CEO will do the job on the support desk. I think that's a really cool concept that you just have lost in the modern day of like earning your stripes, so to speak, just by doing things that the business needs done, and especially working at what would be jobs that we would consider at the lower end, that maybe people consider lower level, but it's like you learn a lot from being in that position. But going back to my thing, you may be listening to this going, screw you, I've been waiting for my promotion at wherever, and like they keep passing me up. Do not stop applying, because when the tide turns, nobody knows exactly the moment that the economy is going to start to turn, or exactly when your moment's going to be. I'm saying you no longer have I have zero income coming into my life. I can now, and listen, I don't care what you're doing. You're hanging out at whatever job, get some Claude Code on your phone. This is like the first time that you could have like something cranking, like getting some tail scale, something cranking at home. And then the other thing I think about is you got your start in retail, but your story is interesting because you worked at Eastern Mountain Sports. You can get a job at a place that's like work at a surf shop.
In your
like
interest.
In your interest, right? Skate shop, something like that. If you're interested, if you want to go listen, be a lift operator at a skiway or things like lifeguard. Not that that's an easy job to get. You got to get the whole fitness thing, whatever. But I would say that there's a world where you probably have more interests than you think. If you've gone to school for a specific major, but you probably have all these other interests. So look there too, because you can find a ton of satisfaction. Like, I would love to work at REI and help people pick out climbing shoes. My REI might give me some problems because they don't have enough climbing shoes for me to make the proper recommendation, but so I'd have to send them online. That's a different problem. Or like go and like do some guiding, like I would love to do some guiding and, introduce people to the sport that I love. There's a lot of stuff out there. I knew someone who was in nursing school and they did the EMT thing with the volunteer fire department, took the test and went through becoming an EMT and just there are things that and I actually know a programmer that became an EMT also, and they love it. It's definitely it's just like a more exciting job. It was for them. So there are other things that you might be interested in. And I feel the need, we've done like a lot of shows on this, but I just feel like it's just the topic of the moment. There's all the AI talk, how to use AI, how to make life better. And then there's this huge contingent of people that are using AI on personal projects, can't get a job and feel like they're getting left behind. I'm here to tell you the tide is going to turn. I think Epic Games did a great job today, just kind of fessing up. A lot of this is not programming is dead. I mean, at the same time as I say this, didn't Jensen Hung just say that they just achieved AGI and it's all over? Come on, guys. Come on. I'm sorry. The owner of OnlyFans just died of cancer yesterday. A man with all the money in the world at 42 years old. We got a long way to go as people, folks. We have a long way to go because money couldn't save him and tech couldn't save him.
Plenty
So
of plenty of income.
I still think we have a way there. We have not even scratched the surface of where we need to go as humans. So this is not, I just hate that talk of like, it's all done. The machines are just going to do it all. We're fixed. It seems so far from the reality that we're all living.
I also think we talk about this a lot because I am you and you are me, whoever is listening. Like, I'm a degree of separation. Like, how many times did I either lose a job, get laid off, have to reposition myself, have that thing in my mind where I was like, well, I got to get a job. I can't just like sit here like a bum. I need some income. And so it's an empowering opportunity to be like, okay, well, where do you want to work? Where do you want to get some money from? And so my way is not necessarily your way. We bring this topic up because it's super relevant to you and me. Like, dude, a 3-month period, a bad 3-month period, you and I are looking for other income opportunities. It's not the first time that we have come up with the contingency plan about how are our families going to continue to live as entrepreneurs that run the margin line. And so we talk about this because it helps us sleep a little bit at night, which is like, how would we operate through our worst case scenario? It's something that's on my mind because we feed families and staff with our business, and this could all happen to them. You know, it's preservation of the business at all costs. Like, nobody has permanent job security here. It's just the way that it is, man. Nobody has permanent job security anywhere. It's just the way that it is. And so,
Yeah.
you know, anybody that's listening to this that's like, fuck these guys, they don't know what they're talking about, they've never struggled a day in their life, please email me. Please talk to me. That's like not actually the reality at all. If I could give everybody in the world that was qualified a job, I would absolutely figure out a way to do that. And I'm just saying that there is nothing that's beneath me. I'm happy to do whatever. I don't even want to say a job because it almost feels like it's a little bit of a belittlement to the job, but it's not. I would do fucking anything I needed to do to ensure that my family's position doesn't have to change, that they don't have to feel any distress about my situation.
But they might. Honestly, they might, and they have. I have to
sure.
say, during some of our harder times, my family definitely did.
Absolutely, dude.
Either through my attitude, which was not always the best, or through,
Totally
hey, we
true.
have to buckle down. We can't do that thing.
Absolutely
You don't
true.
get to do that. Like, we have to cancel that thing that we enjoy or whatever.
Absolutely
But
true.
there's another way to look at this.
I'm still a one-car family. I'm still a one-car family. I'm the only person in my condominium complex that has one car, and I have the biggest family of anybody in the complex too. But we all are making sacrifices at every way, and it'll all help when we do finally get to whatever the universe has in store for us. It will all help in remaining humble. It will all help in the way that I provide advice to the young people that are coming up or the people that are fell in hard times. They're coming to me anyway. They're coming to you anyway. They're willing to listen. They're asking, what would you do in my scenario? Hence, the individual that we're talking about.
Well, you know what, dude? Like, all right, so we have a mutual friend also, who was not a software engineer, but they are, I want to say they were a mechanical engineer, master's degree, worked for GE, moved out to San Francisco, did the Silicon Valley thing, made the high salary. This is when times were good, and bailed on all of it, moved to Bishop, California, baked bread, became a guide, learned to ski, climbs every day, scaled the lifestyle way back, has been doing it for years, is way happier. There exists a leisure class at either end of the social spectrum.
This is true.
This is a quote attributed to a climber, but I totally forget the name right now. But it never is lost on me that you can go that way, or you can go back that way. And you can turn back and just say, you know what? And Outside Magazine runs an article like this every single year. And it was like, and I don't know if they still run it because I haven't read the magazine in a while, but it was like 10 people that basically left their high paying corporate jobs to become climbing guides, to become ski patrol, to go move to the mountains, to live a different lifestyle, and are way happier because of it. I think Aaron Ralston was somebody like that also, ultimately lost the arm in the slot canyon, the 127 hours guy, but it was something like he did this like high paying job kind of thing, and then like decided to work at like Neptune Mountaineering or something like that. I know a lot of folks like that. I have that one friend that comes to mind, and they just were like, I just couldn't stay in that race. And sometimes I think about that, like, because my kids love climbing and being outside and whatever. And you know, where we live is a lifestyle, is just the cost of living is high. And like, they would be the happiest kids on earth if I told them, hey, we're moving to the woods and we're homeschooling. Like, let me tell you, they'd be happy. They would be happy. Now, I think that there are definitely advantages to them staying in the fold, which, you know, and they do love where we live and things like that. So, but I often think about that sometimes, even from a business standpoint, right? Like while you're struggling, we have to think about this idea of, while you don't have product market fit, or while things are not in the right space, you got to stay very small, very cheap to run. You have to kind of keep your lifestyle from creeping. And I think lifestyle really creeps, especially if you got used to making 200 plus a year, and then you've kind of just continued that through this period. It's very hard to kind of claw your lifestyle back from a place that it's been. And that's another thing I think we may end up seeing. But sometimes I think about that too for people, where I'm just, you know, if you, especially young, there isn't the family obligation. I think about that, you know, just like going to bake sourdough bread in the mountains and freaking Boulder every day. And you won't get that time back either. Someone once told me, you're young for a very short time and you're old for a very long time.
That's true.
So if you're young, I see young folks, I go, you know, maybe do something a little wild, you know, live on the cheap, live out of your car, do the thing, you know, do the thing that you may not get to do in the future, because like maybe the universe is forcing our hand, and maybe you get a couple of remote gigs. Like when I think about my time, like kind of ski bum, climbing bum, that time on the road, like building one website would have lasted me like months in that lifestyle.
Remote. Dude, there was no remote.
There was no remote back then. But if I had that now, I'm like, yeah, dude. Like if I made even $2,000, that could have lasted me months. I could stretch that.
Well, look, I mean, the world is substantially different. Even in our career trajectory, there was no work from home. There was no infrastructure to allow for a work from home environment.
None of that.
Regardless of like ethics and, you know, how business operate. There was no stable Wi-Fi connection.
You'd go to a coffee shop or something. Well, I didn't have a smartphone.
Tough, dude.
My first smartphone was maybe the iPhone 5. But I'll admit to that too, though. Like my phone plan now costs this is where it gets a little harder for folks. It's like $80 a month to have a friggin' phone plan. Versus like back when we were younger, like you could get a cell phone for like $20 a month or $30 a month or something. But I would say that with a laptop, you don't, you know, if you want to go the Linux route, you don't need something super expensive to get some good power out of it. You can actually like do the coffee shop thing. But it's definitely the infrastructure is everywhere now. But when we were young, there was no hotspot. Like my iPhone didn't hotspot. That's for sure. Like, but when I lived that life, I didn't have a smartphone. I just used a regular camera.
And
that was the only thing I needed.
All I mean to say is like there's never more opportunity. It may not be the thing that you're truly passionate about, but wouldn't it be really cool to pursue an opportunity that generates you income from a remote perspective, giving you the space to pursue your passions as your primary lifestyle? You know, income does not mean that you need to find a 60-hour-a-week gig. Some people need that. Some people want that. But there's lots of ways to make money. This is really all about like a hard look in the mirror. And thinking outside of the, like, because that seems to be the thing that I notice the most when I counsel people on this, is there's just a tunnel vision. And I can't I obviously can't recommend the guy with 3 kids and a wife and be like, oh, just move to the woods, and like, you know, like that's not gonna work. But I could recommend that to a college student that just graduated, has no car payment, leases up on their apartment. I'm like, yo, put everything in a backpack and go. Doesn't have a lot of stuff, but there's just other paths. But not for nothing, the person that does have all that has the family, has the house, has the yada yada, that is usually the person that's like, man, I wish I could just rewild. I wish I could just like cut ties from all the things that I have, and I wish I could just move to the basic lifestyle. So sometimes that is not bad advice. Sometimes somebody needs that kick in the butt to say, you know what, you live once. And like, I've always wanted to take the family cross country and live out of the van for a year. I know a bunch of people that have actually done that. We know mutual people that have done that.
It sounds so impossible, but yeah, they've definitely done it and
It's not
survived.
that crazy, especially in the remote world. Like your boss does, if you still have a job, your boss doesn't even need to know. If you still are a high performer and you make your priorities straight, you could have a remote job straight from no man's land. You can
It's
Starlink
hard
from the
once the
middle of
kids
the
are in
desert.
school.
Yeah, of course,
I
there
get
are
it. It's hard.
definitely factors, you know? There are definitely
But
factors.
this is one of those things where, like I said, everybody's got a different path. Unfortunately, like I'm finding that people who are typically a little older, a little more senior, not as they are finding work. It maybe is a little slower, but they're finding their way. It does seem to be the people graduating right now are in dire straits. And that would be me, just like looking backwards. I once had a teacher tell me that, because I was like, I remember in 2008 that I was like thinking of going to law school, and they said, "Don't do that." They were like, "Go." I wish I took more time, because they were they had family, and they said, "I love what I have. It's amazing. It's a whole new level of existence. But if you don't have that, like, you should take that time, because it's a quick period, And when you look back on it, you're like, that was only like 2 or 3 years that I was able to even really do that, and you just do. And you'll have all these stories too. You'll have a lot of stories, a lot of interesting experiences. You'll meet a lot, increasing the surface area for luck. People I met on that whole journey out west bring us leads today
That's right.
that I've just kept in touch with, and that have to
True.
just you spread yourself far and wide. You don't know what's going to happen. Take that little moment, because everybody does. Eventually we all get. Somebody once told me that too when I was waiting tables. They're like, we all end up in the same box, and I was like, you know what, you're kind of right. We do all end up in the same box.
True.
So if you got a moment, take a moment. If you don't, you don't. There's all sorts of ways to reinvent yourself. Take it. It's all about, like, kind of seeing the glass half full. It's how you go about it. Like, you could look at it as a bad thing, or you can look at it as an opportunity. But looking at it as a bad thing doesn't benefit you. Looking at it as an opportunity at least could benefit you. Take it forward a step. And that's how we look at, like you said, there's less sales, customer leaving, whatever. I can look at it and beat myself up over it, or I could say, hey, now I got space in the book for a really good project. The next project that comes across my desk is going to be something I love. And I just make that choice, because anything could happen.
I think you and I both got this advice at some point in our lives, because we both did this, never talked about it really, but it's ABI, always be interviewing. And you do it from a place of power. You and I had two different things. You always moved on to another role. You'd spend 2 to 3 years at a job, and you intentionally just kept finding a new gig. You were always interviewing. I did the opposite. I stayed for long periods of time at 2 different tech shops, but I was always interviewing. I always wanted to see, is the grass greener? I always wanted to remain sharp and relevant. I always wanted to increase my network and see what's available. And I always wanted to make friends proud. They would be like, yo, you'd fit in great. How many interviews did you give me? I think I went on 3 different interviews just from you alone at the companies that you worked at. And now I know.
But yeah, I always brought people in.
Right. So this is from a position of power. It's always easier to find a job. It's always easier to find a job when you have one currently. And so the lens that you look through, not having a job today, this is a position of potential power if you look at it through that lens. Now you have the opportunity to say, what would be my ideal gig? What would be my ideal family scenario? This now is your playbook, and you can speak your vision into reality. But again, the way we began is the way that we'll end this one. We got to separate career from income. And when times are tough, income takes precedence, and you can't make good decisions about your business, about your life, about your job, about your family when you have the wet blanket over your mouth and you can't breathe and you're stifled and you just can't make decisions. So any income is good income, and that's a position of power, and the next opportunity will find your way. Dude, I'm sure we'll talk about this a thousand other ways on 10,000 other episodes, and it's just our way of preservation is what it is. See you, bro.
Good stand up, bro.